Hey, we're here in Boston, and it was raining all day yesterday, but today we've got some decent weather. So we're going to be walking the Freedom Trail. We are staying in a hotel here at Assembly Station, and we're going to be getting off at State Street, so I guess we'll see you there.
Yeah, so come with us, learn some U.S. history.
So we thought we were going to be getting off at State Street, but it turns out we need to transfer to the Green Line, and then we got off at Park Street. So here we are at Boston Common. This was built in 1634 as a common ground, and it was used up until the mid-1800s as a grazing area for cattle. So this is the start of the Freedom Trail. We know where to go next because this brick line goes all the way along the whole thing. At the Massachusetts State House. This is the longest continually running state capitol in all of America. It was originally built in 1798, and the dome was originally constructed of wood. Then in 1802, Paul Revere covered it with copper, and for the nation's 100th birthday, it was gilded in 1876. Our next stop is the Robert Gould Shaw Memorial. He was commander of the 54th Regiment, which was the first all-African-American volunteer regiment in the United States Army. The 1989 film Glory tells all about this story. Because it's Memorial Day today, we have a wreath out front. Here we are at the Park Street Congregational Church, built in 1809. It was the location of the first Sunday school in 1818, and also the location of William Lloyd Garrison's anti-slavery speech in 1829. 2 years later, it was the location of the first public singing of My Country 'Tis of Thee by the choir. Here we are at the Granary Burying Ground, established 1660. Some pretty well-recognizable names are buried here, such as Paul Revere, Mary Goose, known as Mother Goose, Samuel Adams, and the family of Benjamin Franklin. Come on, let's go inside. Sixth stop is King's Chapel, which was originally a wooden chapel built in 1688. Then this stone structure was built around it.
The next stop is the Latin School, and as you can see by the marker, it was built in 1635 and is the oldest public school in the United States of America. Where the Boston Latin School once stood is now the site of Old City Hall, built in 1865. For 104 years, Boston's mayors held court here until they moved into City Hall's current location.
The next stop is the Old South Meeting House, built in 1729. This was the location where the Sons of Liberty met to arrange the Boston Tea Party in 1773. The bell tower houses a bell cast by Paul Revere. On the corner of Washington and School Street is one of Boston's oldest brick structures. Did you know Chipotle was that old? Actually, back then it was the Old Corner Bookstore, built in 1712. The bookstore was made famous for meetings on the second floor by the likes of Nathaniel Hawthorne, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Charles Dickens, who lived in Boston for 2 years. They would meet and discuss poetry, politics, and literature. This is the Old State House built in 1713. The Declaration of Independence was first read from that balcony right there, causing a riot in the streets below. The lion and unicorn, symbols of England, were ripped off the top and burned in a bonfire.
Out in front of the Old State House is the monument for the 5 victims killed in the March 5th, 1770 Boston Massacre, which took place in the middle of what is now called State Street.
This is Faneuil Hall, which is famous for meetings and protests that led to the American Revolution. This isn't part of the Freedom Trail. I just thought it was a cool photo op.
In North Square sits the oldest structure in Boston, the Paul Revere House, which was built in 1680. Paul Revere lived here for 30 years, from 1770 to 1800.
This statue of Paul Revere is one of the most photographed statues in all of Boston. It was designed by Cyrus Edwin Dallin in 1883, but was not displayed until 1940. This is the Old North Church, built in 1723. This is where Paul Revere had 3 Boston patriots hang 2 lanterns to show that the British were coming by sea, and 1 to show that they were coming by land. This is the graveyard where Robert Newman, the man who hung the lanterns in Old North Church, is buried.
The next stop is the USS Constitution, built in 1797, and is the oldest ship in the U.S. Navy. It was built to protect American merchant ships from pirates off the coast of North Africa. It was made famous during the War of 1812, where it never lost a battle. It earned the name Old Ironsides because the ship was so strong, though it was made out of wood, that cannonballs from British ships would bounce harmlessly off its sides.
We made it to the last part. This is the Bunker Hill Memorial. It was dedicated in 1843 for the Battle of Bunker Hill. Thanks for sticking with us to the end, and I hope you learned something new. Have a good day.